Looking for something new in sci-fi or fantasy? Check out what Brandon Sanderson, Orson Scott Card, Nnedi Okorafor, and others chose as the best news stories of the year in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology from 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
Hey there. It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. The News on the Flip Side, in the category of politics and news. News on the Flip Side is a much different news and political program which is not deemed as opinion news. Listen as Joe Montaldo brings to you just the facts from trusted sources which will allow you, the people, to make up your own minds on the various stories being reported on. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate News on the Flip Side in the category of politics and news. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and do it now. All right, everybody, it's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. The Outer Realm in the category of Best Female Hosted Podcast. The Outer Realm is a very popular show hosted by Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, which boasts millions of listeners each week who are well known for and have been complimented on their very laid-back, roundtable style of interviewing. Together, this dynamic duo brings you the best of the best with guests from around the world who are well-versed within their respective fields of ufology, paranormal, esoteric, and other areas of high strangeness, and more. So go to podcastawards.com to nominate The Outer Realm in the category Best Female Hosted Podcast. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and do it now.
You are listening to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, coming to you live on 105.3 right up to 107.7 FM. From the beautiful city of New Orleans. UPRNtalkradio.com.
Spirit Switchboard, airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 New Orleans.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me here on Spirit Switchboard. I am your host, Kerrilynn Shellhorn, and you are joining me live on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network and the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. Today, I have an extra special guest. I was so giddy about this all day.
Me too.
I have a fellow Canadian medium and UPRN podcast host, Lorilei Potvin, with me. Lorilei, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I was so excited about this. We've got so many fun things to talk about.
We do. And I was so grateful that you were able to go with the flow and when we were chatting about what I wanted to talk about today. Your list of, hats. The amount
you want me just to tell people
my goodness.
Easier for you?
Well, no. I wrote about
Okay.
Canadian clairvoyant medium, crystal Reiki master energy healer, Akashic records practitioner, medical intuitive, spiritual teacher mentor. That's all yummy feeling. Podcast host.
Yeah.
Humanitarian activist and registered nurse.
Yes. Yeah, a lot
That's
of things.
a lot. Mom, partner, like all those different hats.
And you know what it is, right? Like people don't realize that And not everybody, but there's
Right.
people, right? Everybody would love it. And I always say, I wish there was 48 hours in a 24-hour day. And there was about 10 of me. Because, right,
Yeah.
I find people so interesting, and you get into a conversation and an hour goes, and you just I don't have enough hours in a day, it seems like, to be able to connect with everybody I'd like to.
I agree with that. And for me, it's not just even connecting with the amount of people. It's just the amount of things that I put on my list that are really, it's just unattainable. Honestly, the list, like the list of things is crazy. And all of that, I'm sure it's not where you thought you were going to land.
Oh God, no.
I always thought I was going to marry a farmer and have 6 kids.
Well,
that's where I was at. I thought I was going to marry a farmer and have 6 kids.
I wanted to be a doctor, and that was the plans. And I was community visiting nurse, and I wasn't aware of my gifts. I was using them, and looking back, I was connecting with spirit all the way through, especially as a nurse. I have some crazy stories working nights. But I had planned to become a doctor. So what my plan was, I went to university, became a nurse, had a few years under my belt, and then I was going to go back for a year to become a nurse practitioner, because here in Canada, with your degree, it was only a year. Right. And then apply to med school. Well, what happened was I was visiting a patient out in the community, and they were in a trailer, and I used the side door to go in. So my car was parked closer to their front door. I just went in for something quick, like a dressing or something. And I asked them if I could use their front door to leave. It was closer to my car. And they said, sure. So I worked for the Victorian Order of Nurses, or VON. It's one of the oldest nursing. I know a lot of people might not know around the world. Canadians, I know, have heard of them. So we used to carry a bag, like it was about 40 pounds. It was really heavy. So as I step out onto the front landing of the steps, I went right through. The guy had a hole in his front deck that he covered with a rug, and I shattered all my discs in my back. So I had to have emergency back surgery. So I can't physically work as a nurse, and life changed on a dime in about seconds from there.
Yeah. And that's what happens, like in a second. And then do you struggle being a spirit, like we fit in that spiritual realm, right? But the love and lighty outlooks for everything is sometimes a hard, bitter pill to swallow.
You know what? I'm so glad you asked that, because, where I struggle is with, and I know because the universe keeps presenting it, is boundaries, but also being an empath to see things from another person's perspective, and realizing that I've never walked a mile in their shoes, as my father always used to teach me. So I never really know what's going on. So you try to be very empathetic, yet still have boundaries. So that's where I struggle with, where, you try to turn the other cheek, or you try to give them the benefit of the doubt. But sometimes it sucks. I'm sorry, but it does. You go, you know what? I don't want to be the one to give you the benefit of the doubt. Or, as I always say, and please, guys, and ladies, don't take this the wrong way, but I do say from time to time, my life isn't, as anybody's life isn't, roses and unicorns dancing in my front yard and rainbow poop all over the place. I just choose not to put it out there.
And make that the focus. That was one of the, when I was thinking about today and all the silliness and where I want this to go today. But that was one of my questions, is what are those life experiences where you don't feel so extra spiritual? For me, it's driving.
Driving? You got road rage?
I wouldn't say that I have road rage. I have, I was going to say stupidity rage, but that doesn't sound very good either. It just doesn't sound very good either, because it's more, because it is those life altering things can happen in a second, in those moments of people being not mindful of their own space and having to be extra mindful. So I'm always saying, like, I forgive you for being an a-hole. I forgive myself for calling you an a-hole. And I'm trying to karma clear it.
But you see where I'm going with what I said, right? Like, we're trying to give other people grace, and we know that's the right way.
But we're
we're
still human at the same time. And
Mhm.
then afterwards, it being an empath, then you feel guilty about
Yeah.
having had that thought. So then
Yeah.
it's like, please forgive me and I forgive you and hopefully karma clear. And,
Yeah.
they probably were rushing. What if they were rushing to go
That's why I
see
say
sick
we don't
grandma?
know what happened before,
Yeah.
somebody chose to act the way they did. And I'm not trying to make it sound like we're up on a pedestal and like
No.
we're human, but sometimes it's really hard to turn, to look at it. Like you said, we
Yeah.
get that
But
guilt.
even your personal experience of falling and where you thought you were going to go and how it all turned out, right? In
Mhm.
that moment, finding the spiritual twist to there's a bigger meaning to this is sometimes really hard to find until you're way through it.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because when I mentioned about I wanted to become a doctor, for example, I was always told I'd never be able to have children. So I always
Me
say I won the
too.
lottery twice having two children.
Right.
Now, I had my eldest child at that time. He was 15 months when I hurt my back. And I never knew I was going to be having my second son, who is severely autistic. So
Right.
now looking back, I know, and for me, my higher power, I don't judge whoever, if you have a higher power or not, but for me, it's God. And it's like I always say, God knew what was happening. He knew that this special, not that all children aren't special, but he still does. He needs a lot, my son. And I
Right.
don't say that like pity me. I don't mean it that way, but I look at it as a blessing in a way because I knew many a parent that was professional that has had to give up their whole career
Mhm.
having a child with such high needs. Whereas, was I making the money I would have been as a nurse? No, but I had a regular monthly pension coming in. And I felt like I was taken care of. I needed to be home with him, especially while he was growing up. So
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying? Stepping back and taking a look at the bigger picture.
And we don't until further on down the road. Like
Mhm.
sometimes when we're in the middle, we still have to feel all the feelings,
Of
everybody,
course.
just like
Yeah.
everybody else. And I mean, I'm not sure where your viewpoint is on this, but I know for myself when I'm looking at it from the growth and learning that we get from it,
Yeah.
instead of sitting in the muck and taking a long time of sitting in the muck,
Mhm.
as we grow, we can see, okay, now I have these tools and I'm putting them into place. So I'm feeling the feels. Now I'm putting my tools into place. It gets shorter. So each time you get in the muck, your
Yeah.
time wallowing in it gets
Yeah.
shorter. The more
Well,
tools you
plus,
get.
yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Nope, that was it. That was what
I
I was
told
going to say.
Carrie I should tell all of you I have a little bit of a delay, so I apologize.
It's all
But
good.
no, but that's the point that you just brought up that's so important, right? Because I know you must get asked this question because we do
Yeah.
in this field. Why do bad things happen to good people? Why does God do this to me? Why does, right? And when you start to understand the whole bigger picture, God's not doing this to us in any
Mm-mm.
way, shape, or form, right?
Mm-mm.
And then to step back, and it's almost like as human beings when things are status quo and they're perfect and they're amazing, and I always use the example of when we newly fall in love and the birds are singing and you could smell the flower, like everything is
Twitter
just,
pated.
yeah, Twitter paid it. There you go. And then what do we say? Oh gosh, I wish this could last forever. You have no impetus for change. You have no impetus in any way to want to look at life and think, geez, what could I take from this situation? Unfortunately, it seems as a human being, when we're given that choice is when we face difficult things in life, right? Like what we're sort of talking about. We have the choice to wallow, or we have the choice to try and move past it, heal as best as we can, and
Yeah.
whether it becomes part of us, but what was the lesson in it?
And it takes a while to get there. And
It does.
then once you do, you're always able to sort of to pull back and see with your spiritual eyes instead of your human eyes
Yeah,
and
I agree.
seeing it from a bigger picture, right? Like
Mhm.
what the bigger picture is. And definitely. I just want to say hello to some of the ladies that are saying
Oh,
hello to
let's
us really
please. I love
quickly.
to do that.
I
So
know. I
you want me
know.
to highlight them for you?
Sure. I just want to say hello to Denise and
Oh,
yeah,
that's one of my ladies, Sandra.
Sandra
Hi,
Sharp.
Sandra.
She
Yeah.
makes a great comment further
Want me to
down.
go? Okay, let me go
Yeah,
further
let's
down.
highlight Sandra's
Okay,
comment
there's
about
Denise. Let's see. I thought that was great too. And then Jennifer
yes.
we got some great comments here. So
It's fabulous. Thank you, Sandra.
yeah,
You
she said
don't suffer fools lightly, as my mama would say.
and then when I was talking about working nights as a nurse,
Yeah.
Kathy, I think she said many hospital spirit stories. Yeah.
So Jennifer Frost.
I know I want,
Yeah.
and she said that too, but do you want to read her comment? Because that was so
Sure.
cool.
Yeah. And I know that Jennifer works as an ER nurse as well.
Oh, does she too? Okay, us nurses, we know.
Yeah. I had a spirit experience in the hospital. It was really overwhelming for me. And definitely, knowing Jennifer, that empath side when we're in those experiences, when we're out in public.
Oh. Oh, labor and delivery. Okay, I used to.
Labor and delivery. Thank you, Jennifer.
I used to work in the NICU and maternal newborn, and once in a while labor and delivery. So I always love working up there. Always. No, out in public especially, because, and I even when we were chatting a little bit before the show, and I said, bless their hearts, but I can tell you that when you're out, and most of us that are empathic, even those that are empathic, if this doesn't happen to you, you are an empath. Don't think that you're not an empath if it doesn't. But what I find is people come and find you. Like they find you. Like they'll just come down your aisle and they'll start talking to you, and you really don't have to say anything. They just know you're listening, and they'll end up telling you their whole life story, and then they'll stop and they go, why am I doing this? Like, I don't know you from a hole in the ground. And it's like, it's okay. It's all right. I have the time. But I find that happens all the time.
Like a moth to a light.
Kind of, I guess. Yeah.
It's the energy that they feel comfortable with, right? They know that there's a comfort space in there. And if we stretch that out further, what about seeing spirits? You see spirits?
I will be honest that clairvoyance is not my strongest gift. Can I see spirit? Yes. But usually what I do when I go out shopping, but now you're making me think, because next I have to go out actually to get some dog food and stuff. So I won't actively do it, but I can honestly tell you when I go shopping, I just literally go in the mall with my head down, and if I can just get things to go out, I don't look, because honestly, if I look at somebody, and it's not like, I don't want to make this sound like, oh my God, it's such a burden. It's not. I love people. But say I'm in a hurry. I know you do. I knew from the minute I heard Carrie's voice, I went, oh my God, I know I'm going to love Carrie. just your energy. And if I have the time, I don't mind, but I can't tell you how many times I have been out. I have a very large French Canadian family on my dad's side. I have run into, in the last couple months, probably about 4 of my cousins that I never saw them. They saw me, because I'm just not looking. So
French families, when they come through in spirit, are one of, like, French and Italian families, when they come through in spirit during a session, freak me out, because they're so family oriented. You don't just get 2 family members. They bring in all of them. There's all 15 family members come in at the same time.
So I'm going to have to check, because I don't look. But that's the thing, right? And my friend Dave, co-host and friend David, and I were talking about this last night, right? And I talk about it all the time, is those that say, look into the paranormal, and anything that we're talking about can fall within the paranormal right now. But the thing is, people seem to think that the only time activity happens is at 3 a.m. It happens way more in the daytime than people realize. So if you ask me, not so much when I'm out, but if I'm paying attention, I can see it all the time and feel it. But people have this false sense of security, right? Because it's light and there's noise. And
I think it's it will happen in non-thinking moments for me, like when I'm really just kind of somewhere else. But if I have to go to a big box store, any of that kind of stuff. Today I ran to Canadian Tire, which is our big hardware store here in Canada. Right. And as I'm walking towards the door, I'm like, shields up, rubber bubble with slime, and thank you very much. Let that energy just hit and roll.
I do that before I go out though, or when I'm driving. I always say, angels, please protect me and all the cars around me. And I literally know I have a whole flock of angels around the car. Right. And it may sound crazy, folks, but you know what? It can't hurt. And when I say protect the cars around me, because a lot of times it may not even be ourselves, right? It's somebody not paying attention and going over.
You're so much kinder than me. I'm like, okay, angels, move everybody out of my way, and thank you very much, so I can get there as fast as possible.
That, or and I told people, ask your angels If for a good parking spot
Oh
or
yeah,
going to
that
the
totally
park,
works.
whatever. They'll
Yeah,
help.
yeah. Totally works. But
Yep.
I find too that people don't necessarily, especially if you're empathic, um, maybe are not cognizant of the energy of places as well too. So like I know I may get some nasty emails about this. So I'm
Oh, I
just
hope
good.
not.
I'm just saying I don't hate on anybody that works in Walmart or loves Walmart. Not hating on Walmart,
That's what you're
but I'm about to step into a pile, maybe. But but which negates everything I just said. Walmart has their whole marketing really plays on people and their fears and their and lack, right? That whole
Yep.
rollback. So when
Yep.
people are going shopping, they're thinking about, do they have enough money? They're running their numbers through their head. They're in this like overwhelmed mode already. I used to say when you'd go through that first store in at Walmart and you'd feel that little blast of air, that it was stupid gas and the government was sitting somewhere watching how everybody behaved once they were inside Walmart. I had my own conspiracy theory happening, but
I
it's
want
really,
to add something quickly, just quickly with that. I
yeah,
can
yeah.
never bring my youngest son to Walmart, and we figured out it was that fan. Now, what if there really is something to it?
No,
I
but
could
I think
never
it's
bring him in there ever. He'd flip with the autism.
so I used to, the number one class that I've always been asked to teach is the spiritual parenting, like parenting kids who are intuitive
We
and parenting
talked
kids that
about
are
this before.
sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I say that Walmart and the grocery store, those places are intense for sensitive kids. So teaching them from a very early age to shields up, rubber bubble, slime, clear or ground their energy is so important because it helps them maneuver. Because those kiddos will act up. They will be like hellions. They'll be like little like hellhounds. And then you pull them out because you're worried that
And they're
everybody's
fine.
thinking you're a bad parent, and then they are fine. And it's not because they're bad kids. It's just they're extra sensitive and feeling all this stuff in those spaces.
Well, that's kind of like with autism when I explain it to people, right? Like even
Mhm.
people that are high functioning and say they've got Asperger's, or some people call it Asperger's, for example. And how I explain it is, can you imagine going, and I always use a doctor's office because of the sight, smells, sounds. So you're sitting there in the waiting room chair. I know you'll get this, but for other
Yeah.
people, and you're feeling every seam in your clothing. You're feeling the chair under your bottom, your feet on the floor, your shoes, the whole bit, right? You're also hearing the air conditioner and the fan in the background. You're hearing typing that could be 2 doors away. You're smelling all these weird smells. You're hearing, then the lights are assaulting your senses. Like it's literally like there's no filters.
Yeah.
So
And
when
then they're remembering when they checked for lice 2 weeks ago and they didn't like the feeling of the combs in their head.
Yeah, and then what happens is
All of
one
it.
little thing more gets piled on top and somebody has a meltdown.
Yeah.
And you wonder why. Well, so I'm so glad you brought that up about kids going into Walmart, because I'll tell you, my adult son, and I forget still, and my kids know how to shield. I have a YouTube video, and a YouTube channel is not big. There's two that I share all the time. One's called How to Create a Love Shield. And I walk you through, I say it takes longer to watch this video than it does to do, but I walk you through so you don't finish the video and go, what's she saying, step 5 again, or step 7? So
Right.
I never knew what my eldest used, but my youngest still does it. He calls it the bubble. My eldest used angel wings. He told me as he got older. But when we're at a shopping mall, and he'll start to get really cranky with me and irritable, and this is so not like him, and I'll go, what is with you? Mom, shopping mall, I need to leave. Like he's still,
Yeah.
the energy's too, it's too much for him with a lot of people in a mall.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we have to honor that.
Oh,
And
I do. Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things with our kiddos that are super intuitive.
Mhm.
And if they are, I find the kids that are extra sensitive, they are the best teachers for their parents to remember who they are intuitively and
Yeah.
remember their connection to source, and that
Mhm.
we're all connected that way. It's sometimes that's a hard pill too when our
I
kids
got to ask you a question. I think I know the answer already, though.
Sure.
Do you believe, because I don't know, I kind of feel this way, that when we come in as babies, that we remember where we came from and everything, and as we start to get older, because I have seen so many videos of little ones that can barely talk and walk and are at the graveyard of grandma and say, I see grandma. hi, Grandma. Yeah, I'd give you a kiss. And you've
Yeah.
seen it so many times. Never mind, I've studied near-death experiences professionally and personally for over 40 years. And I believe I had one as a toddler. And I am fascinated by young children that come back and start talking about their previous lives or what have you.
Yeah.
Do you think kids we remember as little ones, like when we come back here?
Oh, for sure.
I
My
think
my
so too.
I have 4 children. So my oldest is 30 and the youngest is 18. And
Oh,
when
that's nice.
and when the 2 older boys are 15 months apart. My
Oh,
oldest
wow.
is in the spectrum as
Okay.
well too. And when they were little, they were 4 and 3. We were sitting down and having dinner and he said, "I remember you as my but you look different. You were my other mom,
I
but you
think
were still
I've
my
heard
mom."
that before, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm,
So, I mean, he's talked about that quite a bit. I mean, all of my kids have experiences a lot as they're younger. I
mhm.
also find it's kind of um dumbed down, I guess is the phrase I want to say. It's dumbed down as they get closer
As you
to
get
school
older, yeah.
age
Mhm,
because they need to fit in. And
mhm,
it's not normal, quote
mhm,
unquote, to talk about these things as they're heading into school. And then it pops back up when they're older, sometimes
mhm.
when they hit those hormonal ages or when they're older,
I
especially for women in their 30s, like early 30s, it hits really hard.
Well,
It
I
comes back.
never knew about this world. I always say this world found me. I wasn't looking for it, but I think I felt a needling towards it because before, and we've had obviously paranormal experiences, and I love to talk about those as much as I'm talking about what we're talking about. But where I was going with this is I always tell a story about what a tattoos and angel cards have to do with each other. And they have nothing to do with each other except that I walked into a local tattoo shop here for my 40th birthday and wanted to get a tattoo. So when I walked in, I had my boys with me, and they weren't even, the eldest wasn't even a teenager. I think he was 11,
Right.
maybe 10 or 11, and my youngest would have been about 8 or 9. And the woman said to me, you have two very unique, special children. And I said, well, thank you very much. But I said, all children are special. She goes, no, your children are very special. She said, do you mind if I do something with them? I said, well, as long as you're not taking them somewhere that's going to hurt them.
Right.
So I now know what was using, but at the time I didn't. But she grabbed mochi balls, those crystals, like the male and female energy, and she was like kind of banging them all around them, right? And then my son looked up, my eldest, and goes, what's that on the wall? And she goes, oh, those are pendulums. Like my kid sees them right away. And then she looks at me and she says, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a nurse, but I can't go back with my back, blah, blah. And she goes, no, there's something else. She goes, have you ever been drawn to anything? And I said, oh, I've always loved like unicorns and fairies and angels. And she goes,
Right.
hang on a sec. She goes, hang on a second. She runs in the back and she comes back and she hands me a box. I'm getting goosebumps as I'm telling you this story. And I said, what is this? And she goes, you'll know. And I go, well, when do you need it back? And she says, you'll know. And after it was angel cards. And after
Mm.
I opened these up, then I mean, that's how the journey started. Then I was so
Wow.
infatuated with these cards, and I had to go take my certified angel card reading course. And like I said, I just sort of evolved later in life. And now looking back, I've been doing this my whole life. It's been around me my whole life. So
Yeah,
strange.
but again, our kids push us.
Mhm.
That experience started with your kiddos, and that was the same for me. My youngest, I think he was about not quite 3, and he said, "Mama, there's a lady at the end of the bed. There's a
Oh,
lady at the
wow.
end of the bed." And I went, "Okay, tell me about her," because
Yep.
I wasn't seeing her, but I've seen and been able to talk to people that are crossed over from the time I was
Right.
little. So I was expecting my kids to have abilities
It's
or
almost a
talk about it,
given.
right?
It's
Yeah,
almost a
yeah,
given.
for
Yeah.
sure. And I said, "What is she saying?" And he said, "She's saying Om Mani Padme Hum.
Oh,
And I went, you're kidding me. I don't even know what that is, but we're going to look it
I
up in the
do.
morning. But I didn't. I
That's
didn't
good, I
even know
know
at the time, but
I
it was
wouldn't have known at that time
no,
either.
I had no clue because I wasn't doing this work. I was at that moment I wasn't. I was working as a hairstylist prior to that.
Okay.
And it's for Kuan Yin. And I ended up, when I was coming out of the closet, I started doing a radio show for kids that were intuitive, parenting intuitive kids.
Mhm.
And I came from Northern Ontario down to Southern Ontario
Okay.
to like a psychic fair. And
Okay.
this guy stopped me, and he had a booth, and he was selling singing bowls.
Okay.
And he's like, you have a small boy with
That
blonde hair. And I went, yes, that boy sees Kuan Yin. And I'm like, yes. And he's like, you need to give this to him. And it was a ring that said Om Mani Padme Hum in
Have
Sanskrit.
you ever heard that song? It's so beautiful. Her name is Winters. Is it Jane Winters or something? Oh, she has a whole meditation album of it. Oh my God, it makes me cry every time I
Beautiful.
listen to it.
Diva Pramal too, like Diva
Mhm.
Pramal. We're gonna shout out to say hello to Howie. Thanks for joining
Hi,
us.
Howie.
Yeah, and I just wanted to highlight, Sandra was making a coworker was talking about
Okay,
her
well, when
daughter.
do you want me to? Higher up above
Yep,
Howie? Okay, give
yep.
me a sec here. Hang on, now I went too high. Hang on. Sorry, my computer is not cooperating. It sounds a little like my family? Is that what you're talking about? Or am I going lower?
I'm not sure where you're at.
Because I got you just got to tell me what a coworker. Is that the one?
Yep.
Okay. No, she had a couple great comments. So
Yeah, I just don't want to miss them. Thanks, Sandra. Sandra's just commenting. A coworker was talking about her daughter just yesterday. Said she keeps talking to Grandma Rose, who would have been her great grandma, and that's it, right? They do remember, and they have those experiences.
Well, you know what it was with my kids? Okay, like my youngest wasn't verbal, and he still hasn't got great verbal skills, but
Oh,
he wasn't verbal till he was about 6.5 or 7. But my youngest, he started talking to me about knowing what the animals were saying and being able to tell me what they wanted, and he could hear them at a very young age. And I knew enough
awesome.
about this world because my grandmother and my mother on my dad's side, as the story goes, my grandmother was pregnant every year for 25 years, if you could
Oh,
believe. I
yeah.
can't even. She
No.
had 17
It sounds like
children.
a horror movie.
I know. But the
Sorry.
French Canadian Catholic family,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So my dad would have been towards the middle end of the family. I believe he says he was about 11 or 12. And his third eldest
Wow.
brother, so this would have been the 50s, should have been home for dinner. And they were all at the dinner table. And as my dad told the story, I think it was like 6:03 or something, my grandmother stood up screaming his name, saying, he's dead, and my grandfather saying, don't be ridiculous, sit down, he's probably just late for dinner. And then the police showed up at the door about an hour and a half, 2 hours later. And I guess what had happened was, again, early 50s, my uncle and his best friend were hot rodding in these cars they had basically built, so no seat belts. And my uncle was driving first, and somehow the door opened and he tumbled out and his best friend drove over him at 6:03 p.m. So
Wow.
it does run on my grandmother's side. So I knew, or my dad's side, I should say. So I
How can
knew.
you say that you didn't think that you had anything until it walloped you later? Like,
I had crazy things when I was 8. I
yes,
saw to you.
of course you did.
Okay, so I remember my first experience as a 4-year-old, but when I was 8, we moved into a brand new home. It had been built from the floor up. From the
Right.
time the snow melted until it fell, every night at 3 a.m., I would wake up unable to breathe, completely unable to breathe. And they finally diagnosed me with asthma, but it was not asthma. I can tell you it was not asthma. It was like somebody was choking me, and always at 3 a.m. I knew nothing about the paranormal at that age.
Yeah.
There was no 911. I remember my dad would scoop me up. Finally, lots of times I'd be completely unconscious. I'd hear my mother screaming. I was completely blue. My dad put me in the car as he'd start to drive away. I could breathe. What was that? Why did that happen? I don't know.
Right.
That's
That's very frightening.
Oh, I didn't want to go to bed. I still remember this like clear
Wow.
as day, because I knew it was going to happen. But why?
Do you understand it now?
I have an idea. And I think it has a little bit to do with some energy from a past life.
Mm.
I've had negative, like I when I did my Akashic Records practitioner's course, I have dealt with some very dark things with people around me. I have literally seen somebody completely possessed, levitating on camera. Like, I'm not kidding, like crazy, crazy stuff. So I remember asking her, like, why do I keep getting seeing these dark things or having people with dark things come around me? And I only want to work with the light. And she kind of gave me a little bit of clarity. And again, I don't want to sound egotistical, but she said sometimes people that work in the light need to be aware of these things in the dark so that they can help people sort of either find the light or find the clarity. So I'm not sure. I'm feeling into it. It feels more almost like something negative from a past life. I don't know what it was, but I've had something around me, I think.
I know one of my kiddos, when he was younger, he would always travel when he was sleeping. Well, I had two actually that would travel when they were sleeping, but they would go to that place where like life reviews were happening. So they were seeing all of that, right? A lot of icky stuff that they were seeing. So waking up,
scary
like,
for them.
Exactly. It was super scary. So one of the things that I learned with kiddos, it was, I would say, like a prayer over them, just letting their higher self know that anything that they've brought forward from a past lifetime that's not serving them in this lifetime, that they have permission to let that go, that they can just,
I've had past life regressions. I have a friend whose husband does it. And
I don't want to know.
You don't want to know?
No, I just assume that I've been everything. I've been good, bad.
But when
I've had boy parts, girl parts. I've just been all of it.
But when we hang on to energy that no longer serves us in this lifetime, right? That's why I gave it a try. Plus, I was having him on my show years ago. They're now very good friends of mine, a husband and wife team. And she's
I don't debunk it. It's just I have focused, if I'm going to do healing, that I'm going to do it in all directions of time, space, dimension, alternate realities, and alternate dimensions. Yeah, I bet it is. I bet it is. And did it come forward?
No, you're not under. Like, I literally felt like I was making it up. And I've done self-hypnosis because I had a lot of surgeries when I was younger, and I couldn't handle the pain medication. So my pediatrician, who was also an allergist, also did self-hypnosis. So he would work with me. So I know how deep you can get. And believe me, it's not deeply under, but it's certainly interesting. It's like watching a movie.
Yeah. We went sideways. I love it.
We're going to go wherever it goes, right? That's the fun of this conversation.
Yes, because I was thinking about all the questions that I get asked, and do you get asked those same kind of questions, right? And I know that I wanted to talk to you about thrift stores, but we hit Walmart, and Walmart and thrift stores are going to carry the same energy, right?
Like especially thrift stores.
Yeah, because it's got all the people energy attached onto them, right? I still go.
I love to go thrifting.
Antique stores? Oh my goodness. Antique stores too? Antique store, no. Really? Oh yeah, no, I'm all over it. And the thrift stores.
I've always
my daughter
said
loves
I've got
it.
the heebie-jeebie things around, right? So, and it's not that I don't think I can protect myself or ground myself or anything, but especially most of my clients that I work with aren't from my city. They're like online. Because there is no space, distance, and time, right?
That's so funny. Do you get people that want they don't ask you all the time about sessions in person?
You need an office.
Yep.
One person in particular, if I have time, I've been so busy, but a few years before and if I can still, I'll go live and do some free readings or some teaching or what have you.
Right.
And this one girl, like, she was just mortified I didn't have an office. And I said, honey, yeah, you live in the same city as me. I said, you've had a reading from me when I've done free readings. I said, were you in front of me? And she said, no. And I said, see, you don't need to be standing in front of me.
They're here. Dead folks are here. They know to show up.
Yeah, I have to.
Thank you, Howie.
Yeah, Howie says he loves Kerrilynn's energy.
I'm going to tell my kids you said that.
The minute I met her, I went,
they get frustrated with me. But I get it a lot. And I think with COVID, I really changed too. Like, and for many reasons I changed, where it's just online. It's just remote. And I know that a lot of people miss that. They miss that hug at the end, and I think they're missing the connection. There's lots of other ways that we can connect, but I mean, as far as doing my
I
job,
always do my stuff online.
even over the phone. Sometimes it's easier for me just to not even see, because I'm a sympathy crier. So I don't wear my glasses when I'm working. So if I don't see you crying, I do better, because then I just have to look down and not look at you. And then I feel rude.
Hard when somebody's crying, though, because you know what? I just said this recently, and I think the person misunderstood me. I said, I just can't stand to hear anybody cry. And it's not because I don't like the sound of it. It just, it tears at my soul, especially kids. Like, I rocked each one of my kids to bed every night because I couldn't stand to hear them cry or somebody else's. And it's not the noise. It just literally feels like it's tearing at my soul to hear it.
Yeah. And my thought always was, thanks for the opinion about how I'm putting my kids to bed. I'll just file it away somewhere.
Yeah, well, I never told
you out. Yeah, but I'm like, they're not going to go to school that way. But I don't know. It was just a bonding time that nighttime.
Exactly. Nobody else. Like, we had them all to ourselves. I'm sorry, but you do as a mom, regardless of how you become a mom, right? It's always mom. And then you get that time, that special time with them. Exactly.
Okay. So if we're talking about sessions, do you have a least favorite question to get asked when you're doing a session?
Nobody's ever asked me this before, and I don't want to turn people off if you're hearing.
No, but
if you
again, it's a good way to educate people on how to have a good session as well too. So get the most out of a session.
It's one that I usually have to do a lot of education with, and it's usually when somebody has had a breakup and they felt they've been wronged, and they want me to go in that person they've broken up with energy, to go in there and find out what's going on. Why did he dump me or she dump me? And what's going on in their life, and blah, 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 blah. So I explained to them right up front that I'm the wrong person for you, because I will not be doing that. Could I go in their energy? Absolutely. But that would be akin to me going to somebody's house and breaking in their front door. And I said, I will not do that. I said, what we can do, though, is look at the relationship and look at it as a whole. Take where you guys fell in love. Take what the positive out of it, as well as what lessons did you learn from this relationship? What part did you play?
Sometimes it's looking past that relationship and where the original source came, like an experience as a kid. Like, so I'm really big about educating people. I think my least favorite question is what my spirit guides. What my spirit guide's name is. When people ask me what their spirit guide's name is, I'm like, how would you freaking know if I was lying? So I tell everybody, and I'm very upfront about it, that their spirit guide's name is Bob, and they don't care.
That's what I tell them. They don't care what you call them.
They really don't. But then I try to educate people too on how to lean into their own way of connecting with and get to that answer themselves, because it's more meaningful if they have their own experience in that than if it's coming from an outside source, right? And to the most part, I don't think they care if we call them a name. I mean, if you follow that whole process of putting kids to bed, and we're washing them and rubbing lotion into their skin, we're bonding with that energy, so that when we have a turkey coma after Thanksgiving, we know who's kind of coming into the room, because we feel that energy. And our spirit guides, the more we work with them, we'll know who they are based on their feeling.
That's exactly
their vibration.
I talked about this on Monday night. I did a show on my own on the Angel Rock, and I was saying exactly that. But I have to say, I was guilty of that in the beginning, because when you get into learning about this, right, and now I don't know the names of my guides. I have a feeling of one that's been with me my whole life. I have a name. I'm positive it's their name. But the thing is, I now understand that exactly what you just said, that spirit knows us from our energy. And I say they've always given me the picture of, on the other side, when they're looking from across the veil, that we look like little pinpricks of light to them. But those of us that are utilizing the gifts, like we're aware of them and we're using them, it's almost like those horror movies when you're driving down that dark highway and all of a sudden this big flashing sign pops up like motel, vacancy, no vacancy. And that's when I talk in that it's not, we live in a duality here on earth. So it's not just good stuff that can see us, it's other sides, but they don't use names. So as long as you associate a name with who's there, they know you're referring to them. Plus, you'll start to know their energy, and you won't need names.
Yeah. Howie's just asking a question.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Howie.
Yes. The answer would be yes for me.
I believe I do. Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's not one of my regular guides. I think that this particular
exactly.
guide is a teacher.
Yeah. And that guide, so the question Howie is asking, so I have a question for you both, any of your guides alien. And the guide that came in for me when I was moving through that process of getting my son identified within the autism spectrum was definitely alien that came in and really showed me how to work with my son's energy to shift and change some of the behaviors that were happening. And it was mind blowing what happened. So,
Wow.
yeah.
See, like the thing
And
about
he's 30. My son is
it
30.
just goes by too fast. My eldest just turned 28.
Yeah.
It feels like he was just born. But I was
Yeah.
going to say that with our kids, right? And why I know that my second is so powerful and so gifted. I never wanted to change him, but he always had so many issues with the anxiety and behavior as a little guy. And I really didn't want to put him on medication. So I tried a lot of different energy healers and stuff like that. I know there was one lady I brought him to. He was not even 4 years old. And she said, "Oh my gosh, is your kid ever powerful?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And I'm not bragging about my kids. She did say this. She goes, "He will not let me in through his third eye. No how, no way. Absolutely not. He wants nothing to do with me." And then we tried a few times and he was not letting him in. When I did originally have somebody come to our house with what we went through to try and help locally, it was the most miraculous thing to watch between her and my son, because they had a whole conversation without eye contact, but they were laughing and they were giggling. They were doing.
And did they no speaking out loud?
No words out loud.
Yeah. And that's the best way. That's what I have found too when I'm working with clients that are nonverbal. So working through the parents with the kiddos that are nonverbal, or even older adults that have Alzheimer's, working telepathically is amazing. If you ask your spirit to talk to their spirit, it's totally different conversation. Totally different. How is just saying, mine tells me how stupid humans are at times. And
and Sandra, I got to point this out about Bob being your spirit guide, what she said.
That's funny.
Sandra,
I will say hi to your dad.
Yeah, Bob,
say hi to Bob.
She said, "Bob is my stepdad. Say hi for me."
Bob and I are buddies.
And we all have
we all have spirit guides.
No, but we do. But I'm glad you asked me what's our least favorite question, because most people don't ask you that, and we all have one where we know that we're going to get asked.
Yeah, and I do get asked that, but I'm always very transparent about why that question irks me, and I think it irks me because people are giving so much trust to the person that they are working with. And, not everybody that does this sort of work is all above board, or maybe not doing their own personal healing so that their vibrational level is as high as it can possibly be. So bless them. They're working from, where they can be at, and the right people are going to find them. And if they outgrow that person, they're going to find somebody else that can.
I encourage it.
Yeah.
I encourage people to work with various different mentors, not just one, or like you say, maybe they're evolving past where say it's either you or I or somebody else, and they're meant to work with someone else. And that's okay, right? Because I always think you get a more holistic, well-rounded, I don't want to say education, but information presented that people can then choose from to resonate with, versus, you meet a person, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not judging. I always say it's not my job to judge. But when somebody just works with one mentor, it's almost like they become a parrot of that mentor, rather than recognizing that there's a lot of different other things that could maybe really help.
And if that mentor is not continuing their own growth, you're only going to go as far as that person. Like I hammer that home a lot. Like the personal healing and growth for anyone who's doing this is so important. Like because we're constantly learning and having experiences to learn from, right?
Absolutely.
Totally. We're learning.
No,
because if we're not, we have that same experience happen again and again until we figure it out.
I know, but I always say about this world, okay, is, you know what, people think everyday life is their world, right? What's in their bubble. But once you open this door a crack, oh dear Lord, you thought the world was big. Like, it's just,
You can't go backwards.
You can't. You
You don't get to unsee it.
Box. Yeah, you can't.
Mm-mm.
And it's infinitely larger than what we would ever have pictured to be what we consider to be the regular world. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's no way you couldn't learn. Like, I know what you're saying, because I did have this conversation with someone recently, not on air, off air, that what I'm finding, because spirituality and this topic, right, which still fits with the paranormal, but people, I'm almost finding, depending where you go, are starting to replace the word religion with spirituality. That my type of spirituality and how I connect is better than what you're doing, kind of thing. I'm seeing this, or it's almost becoming that way. Like, there's only one way to connect, or there's only one way to do this, or one way to do that. Mm-hmm.
I don't play very nice. I don't play very nice in the sandbox that way.
Well, I didn't say I played with them. I just said
no, because it's not. It just it creates such a big divide. It creates.
I'll connect you, Howie. Sorry, go ahead.
It creates such a big divide. And I've had that come at me, and we can be our own self-critic, like on a daily basis, or hard enough. Like that, those self-esteem issues or negative self-talk is a lot to work through and move past. But when you're stepping into that love and lighter community, it's not all warm and fuzzy at all. It is not all warm and fuzzy. And there is that whole, like, I'm more spiritual than you because I don't eat meat. I'm more spiritual than you because I ride my bike and don't drive a car. And I don't know. I really got
eat protein. I'll say, I won't use the M word because that opens a whole debacle, or I don't charge for things, but you do. And it's like, everybody's got to do what they've got to do. Right. We're not here to judge. Mm-hmm.
No. And yeah, I get quite heated about all of that. Like because there really isn't. And we're all coming in with different experiences, whether it's past life experiences, different energies. We're all coming in with different perspectives. So we're trying, we're working at the level that we're supposed to be working at.
Yeah. And seeing the people and working with the people that are meant to find us, and we're meant to find them.
And if you have to talk shite about somebody and you're doing it publicly, then it's saying more about you than it is about that other person.
It does. I just had this conversation with some, because I always do a lot of teaching. It sounds like you do too, when you're doing readings and working with people. And, it's so hurtful for people to have other people say really nasty things. Of course it is. But I just said exactly what you said, is that it says more about the person that's saying those kind of things. And lots of times it has nothing to do with you. One of my first mentors taught me, what other people say about me is none of my business. And in the beginning, he used to say, well, what do you mean? Of course it is. I want to know what people think about me. Now I completely understand. It's none of my business. You say whatever you want. It's more about your journey, not mine. Doesn't mean that's who I am.
As long as you can lay down with and fall asleep peacefully at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
Then that's what's most important.
I agree.
Do you want to talk about naked ghosts now?
Yes. You know what? Kerrilynn asked me, she goes, do you want to talk about crazy, weird stuff? I go, oh, heck yes. There's all kinds of people out here. I know you all have been thinking about it, or you've read about it, and you're wondering, well,
I feel like I've got grade 7 Snickers happening, like grade 7.
I love it. Let's do it.
Little kid giddies.
Okay, so if I remember,
naked ghosts.
Okay, naked ghosts. So
has any spirit shown up? So okay, we can look at it a whole bunch of different ways. So I've seen people make comments or share a meme about, if you die in your last outfit, is that what you wear in eternity? Right? What about those people that die during sex? So then those guys are naked. So are they?
Did your mother ever tell you that you don't wear holy underwear or whatever, because in case you get in an accident and you go to emerge, and then so you die with that kind of underwear or whatever? Same thing, right?
No, I never heard that one. My grandma always told me to wear pretty panties, though, because they made you feel good and you'd feel more confident if you wore pretty panties, and lipstick.
Sure,
she was right.
But for nakedness,
spiritual streakers. That's Howie saying that, not me.
I can't say, but now as I'm asking myself as you ask that, because I've seen plenty of naked people, obviously being a nurse, and I say that
Yeah.
with no disrespect.
Yeah.
And I worked in a nursing home for 4 years as a non-registered nursing assistant while I was getting my nursing degree.
Funny.
And as you said that, all of a sudden I'm getting visions of. So
I've seen one naked ghost.
Have you?
Yeah. They came through for a specific reason because it was part of their story.
Okay.
And when I shared why, like,
Yep.
dude is showing me his bits and bobs. Why is he showing me his bits and bobs? The couple that were coming for the reading said that there was a story about the bits and bobs. So,
Okay, that makes sense, because usually what happens
Yep.
with me, okay, one of the strangest readings I've ever had, and mediumship, believe it or not, is sort of a newer gift. It's always been there, but kind of unlocked. And how it happened was I had a patient in the NICU, set of twins that were born at 32 weeks, a boy and a girl. And we always used to pray when there were babies in the back, please don't let it be a boy. It's nothing against men. It's just that boy babies are always sicker than girl babies. I don't know if that's genetically by design, because we only need one
That's
male to
interesting.
populate a whole village, right?
Right.
So the little guy had such a tough, really tough. We didn't even know if he was going to survive. And then when I was working out in the community, this little guy developed cerebral palsy, and he came on my caseload. He was about 6 or 7. It was so unusual because I usually didn't have that kind of follow-up. But then I hurt my back, and he was pretty stable. So I would check in on him every couple of months, but I put him with, like, it would be in like an RPN now. It was called an RNA at the time. And anyways, fast forward quite a few years. And I was at Chapters. You will know what Chapters is, but for our friends all around the world, it's like Barnes and Noble or whatever. And I ran into his mom. And as I go to hug her, I hear, oh God, I'm probably going to, yeah, I am going to cry. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I heard, tell my mommy I love her.
Mm.
And I hugged her, and then she was in tears, and she said his name, and she said he had passed away. And I said, I already knew. And I said, I'm supposed to tell you this. So of course we had a really good cry.
Mhm.
And then I had a couple of other things with patients quite a few years ago, all that weekend, because it was close to Christmas, like previous patients and stuff.
Right.
And I went, excuse me, whenever something shows up in my field, talk about criers. Excuse me.
Okay.
Whenever something shows up in my field, usually 2 times after a very short period of time, but if it's 3, I know that's a sign from spirit. And we kind of made that agreement that I need to pay attention to that. So I started really looking into mediumship then, and working with different mentors. And it's my guides that have taught me the most about it, which we always know as a medium, and they keep coming through. But the strangest reading, very quickly, is I had I do a bunch of different shows. Like if somebody asked me to be on, I'm so grateful you asked me to be here. And it was a call-in show, and all of us, it was inside the mind of a psychic, and it was a whole bunch of us. And the host was asking us questions like what you asked me. She didn't ask what your favorite question, but questions people always want to know. So we all gave away a prize. So I do resin work. So I made a crystal charging plate with crystals in it. It had the Metatron's cube all hand painted. It was beautiful. Excuse me, but I also gave away a reading. So the person finally decided it was time to have the reading, and they had been very critically ill with something really strange that never ever happens. Long story short, the morning of the reading, I wake up and there's this little old lady at the end of my bed. I swear to God to you. And I said, hello, like, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm here for the reading tonight, kind of thing. And she gives me this message, and it felt so much, again, goosebumps. That's my sign for truth. Everybody has a sign, right?
Truth bumps.
Yeah. And so she gives me this message, and I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. She said, just make sure you tell him. And I kind of said, like, I hope you'll be here. And she was. Long story short, I start the reading, and I give the message to this person, and they go, I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. And so I said to them, I'm sorry you've been so ill. And we start talking about all this stuff. By the end of that reading, all of it connected to the physical problem, to why the lady was at the end of the bed. That was his grandma. Like, it was one of the most beautiful, crazy readings that everything came together at the end. But that's the way spirit does things, right? Sometimes.
Yeah. I good for you though. I have a rule where they're not allowed to be in my bedroom. They're not
I
allowed to
didn't
wake
like them
me
in my
up.
room either. She was one of these
Not allowed to
little
touch
Italian
me.
grandma. Like, I don't think she cared whether I told her.
I guess.
what's
I
going.
don't know. I make them wait out in the hallway. If they could start the coffee pot, it'd be awesome.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
I know.
Well, we hear about ghosts besides naked ghosts. You ever heard about ghosts that do housework and put your laundry away and stuff? I have. Like, why can't we all have a ghost like that if we're going to have one? Yes, swear to God. Put their laundry away, like they go to work, the dishes.
My ghosts are too lazy, apparently. They're
like,
on
if you're gonna
strike.
have a ghost, that's a perfect ghost.
They're teen. I have teen ghosts. I have teenager ghosts.
Yeah, like you didn't have 4 of them of your own already.
Yeah. These ones aren't talking back though. They're staying quiet.
Well,
okay, let's just keep going with that. So dating and marrying ghosts.
Oh, we talked about this before. No, I've never dated a ghost, though I have had one of my previous boyfriends come through in when I was working on my mediumship mentoring, because she would have us, I never saw who I was reading for. We'd call each other and you'd have 30 seconds to hear each other's voice. And it was good because it helps me connect with people's voices now. But when she brought that name up, holy crap, I was just in tears because I never expect him to come through. But dating them, no, I haven't. Is that what you meant? Like,
yeah, because there was that person from the UK that married, married the pirate and then divorced later. And
have y'all? Oh, Sandra says my ghosts are as lazy as my cats. Yeah, if we had to have one. No, have y'all heard about this? It was a lady. Was it in Ireland? It was somewhere in the UK, right? That lady.
Yeah. And she's. I don't know. Somewhere.
Well, anyway, we should tell them. They'll leave them hanging. But she had a wedding in international waters on a ship. She was convinced that she was marrying this 300-year-old ghost that she said was the real Jack Sparrow. And she had pictures from the wedding and the whole bit, and then ended up divorcing him.
Yeah, I think he started seeing other people.
Yeah, he started seeing other people. Yes.
I think is how the story goes. But I mean, that woman's not the only person, because I've read other reports too of people who say that they have ghost boyfriends, or
I have heard that,
have slept with ghost spirits,
or women
like
who've been married their whole life to their love of their life, and they're in such strong grief, and then they claim that their husband comes in spirit and still sleeps with them every night, including the physical things. Oh,
so Zachary, I'm saying the same thing. Like, I'm up for the ghosty boyfriend.
Okay, so that's what Zach says. I'm down for a ghosty girlfriend. No argument on what to have for dinner and leaving the toilet seat up unless you get one like Jack Sparrow, I guess. Like she said he was cheating on her.
So do they have like a ghost dating app? Maybe that's where it's going to evolve to. A ghost dating app. Give some
How does that even? We're going to give some scammer a great idea. Ghost dating app.
Well, they can come up with stuff on their own, but I mean, I don't know. I've kind of thought about it in so many different ways, because when spirits do come in, I can physically feel when they've got their fingers around my arm. Like, I can feel their fingers holding my hand when they're seeing their loved ones come up on a screen. Like, I can feel that touch. So I can feel that those things can happen. I mean, my own grandma, an experience that I had with my grandma in spirit, she used to wake us up when we'd sleep at her house when we were little by shaking our big toe. And so as an adult, and I had 3 of my 4 children at the time, I woke up in the middle of the night and my foot is lifted in the air and she is holding my big toe to give it a shake. And that, like, it was an appropriate moment because I wasn't in a very good space emotionally. So it was a show of support, and I would know for sure it was her. So I know that they can physically touch us and those experiences can happen.
Oh, yeah.
But these people are seeking it out. I don't know. Some days I feel pretty desperate about wanting a boyfriend, but I don't think I've reached that level.
No, but I
Like,
also know
because how do you know what you're inviting in?
that's exactly so. I was telling you before, Seraphine, my previous co-host that used to be on the network with me, we did a whole show about this. And when we talked about this woman in particular, how do you know? And this is my theory. I don't care how sensitive you are. We are human beings, okay? And when you are dealing with an entity that is older than time, millennia old, you don't think that they can't fool one or two humans, like that you have no idea. And not everybody is 100% clairvoyant or 100% clairaudient or 100% anything. So that's exactly, so even if you're not pulling in, or you're not taking advantage of what we would call in our field the clairs, for example, or you're not that sensitive to energy, you have no idea what you're dealing with. And I'm sorry, but you could be dealing with an incubus or a succubus or all kinds of things. You have no idea.
And definitely, like, they'll be those master manipulators. Those spirits will be the master manipulators.
And it's an energy
definitely
exchange when you
Jekyll and Hyde.
Mhm.
Start out soft and yummy, and then the nasty hits, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was going to say. It's an energy exchange that people don't think about even as human beings when you're physical with somebody.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yes.
I mean, when you understand energy, so you're already doing that if you were with a physical person, but when you don't know what you're exchanging your energy with, that would not be something I would ever want to entertain myself, but teach their own. Oh, this is a good question. Kathy asked, will prayers keep them away? What's your thoughts?
I think that prayers, I think, but prayers and intention, there's more to it. I think it's more than just prayers and intention for sure. But if you hang on to that fear, you're still creating that situation to happen. Like if you're hanging on to it, your thoughts, words, deeds, and actions essentially have to all be in alignment. Because if you're saying one thing and you're doing something else, you're still creating that experience to happen. So thoughts, words, deeds, and action. You have to put action into it.
I always say focus on what you want to see, not what you don't. You don't have to go to a place of fear, okay?
No.
Because
fear creates
it happens. Yeah, fear is
Mm.
food to them. If that's as simple as I put it to my child, or it's not a child anyway, it's an adult, but fear feeds them, right? So the thing that you do is you focus on what you want to see. And I believe as human beings, we also have dominion. Okay, I do. I believe that, and you can't just say it fearfully. Like, I love what you just said. You have to have mind, body, soul all on the same plane, basically, and be very firm. Now, does it always work? No. And my previous experience, which I'll probably talk about on another show next week, but my previous experience, it didn't matter what we did. Now, again, then you're dealing with a whole bunch of different things, but it's not a place, I think, where we have to live in fear of worrying that we're going to have a encounter sexually with a spirit. How about that? Does that sound right?
And those experiences are so rare.
They are.
Like it's just so rare.
Oh, that's interesting. So Sandra said this. I don't know if you want to read, but I didn't.
Sandra is sharing, a neighbor some years back had an issue with what we think was an incubus. Her preteen daughter drew it.
Oh,
that's rather gutting. But that's gutting to read, and hopefully that's an experience that but
adolescent girls are a good source, right? Because all the hormones, but I don't know what it is with females. I know we discussed this. I was telling you before, we used to have, from time to time, we've had paranormal panels on here, whatever hosts can come through. And I know Michelle DeRoger of the Outer Realm with Amelia Pisano, she talked about this, and we had quite a good discussion about it with the fact of adolescent females or preteens. It's just their energy, and I'm not sure if it's the hormones with the emotions and the whole bit. Like when they feel emotions, they really feel emotions, as we know we were once,
like a swinging pendulum.
So like even to the point that most of us as teenagers, not realizing it as females, could even be telekinetic, move things with, say, our anger or whatever we feel, because you really feel it. And I do believe it probably is. I don't know. What do you think? The hormones especially could cause it? So that's sad. Very, very sad. That's when you got to
hopefully there's a positive. Yeah, hopefully they had a positive support.
But that's not common either. We don't want people to think that that's common.
No, it's not common at all. So
I-
if you're just joining us live now, you are listening to Spirit Switchboard on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Network, 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. So thank you for joining us. We have Lorilei Potvin on, talking, a fellow UPRN host, and we are just talking about everything.
Everything.
Mom,
Yeah, we're having fun.
yeah, kids, paranormal, dating.
Naked ghosts.
Naked ghosts.
Our least favorite question about what being, psychic mediums or intuitives or clairvoyant medium, whatever you use as a term.
Do you secret fangirl over anybody in the paranormal community? Famous,
okay,
not famous?
I'm so glad that I was just gonna say, so what else you got on the list?
I got a lot. I always have a lot of questions. I am a question kind of girl.
I gotta think. Okay, I know who. I cannot believe I'm admitting this. Like, I don't get embarrassed, and I'm probably gonna look at it. Okay, you know who I kind of have a crush on?
Tell me.
Josh Foreman from the Foreman Brothers. Have you ever seen them? Paranormal Nightmare?
Mm-mm.
I love these guys.
I'm going to look now.
Okay, there's 3 brothers. They're on YouTube, y'all. You have to check them out. I talk about them on my shows all the time. And they had experiences as little boys, and they now use, and they have for a long time, over 12 years, they use their own money. They travel around to help families in need that are going through severe paranormal experiences. And Josh ends at the end. He is the one that does the clearing. So he goes through and they take you through. And then Sean, who was most severely affected, he's usually the one that teaches the family how to continue the daily cleansing.
That's so good.
Rocky's very good with the ITC and the filming. But what I love about them, they're respectful. They don't provoke spirits. They also stay in touch with the family, and they give them aftercare afterwards. I have the highest respect for them. He's pretty cute too when you see him. I think you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Oh, so Jen says they are pretty good. And they don't fake stuff. I don't believe they fake stuff. I really don't. It's called Paranormal Nightmare TV series. I don't know if they're on TV.
And I'll write it down because I'll forget.
Well, if you forget, you can always message me and I'll send it to you because they'll be on tonight. They'll probably have what they do is they put a new episode out every week on YouTube. And then usually Saturdays they go live and they show you how they're setting up equipment, and they get all kinds of stuff happening usually while they're live too.
I'm getting my new to me car, so I'll be excited and I might forget about it. So I'm going to
Jen says Discovery Plus. Okay, thanks, Jen, because I knew they probably were on TV because it's called the TV series. I just watch them on YouTube, and I love them. So what's your crush? Now I got to ask you.
John E.L. Tenney.
I don't think I know who that is either.
That makes me sad.
Well, no, I will know you, but tell me.
He's he can kind of come across grumpy, but he's definitely in the paranormal world. So Hellier, he had another show, paranormal investigative show, and I can't remember the name of it, but he has a podcast. I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna have to trade. I want to check him out. I'm curious.
I
like how his brain works. I like how he writes and how he lectures, and I just like how his brain works. And I think what really did that for me with John E.L. Tenney was watching Hellier. If you haven't watched Hellier, it's on YouTube as well too.
No, I haven't.
It's all about the Kentucky Goblins.
Oh, now I gotta watch it now that you told me that, because when you say Hellier, I keep thinking of Paul Hellier, that's from Canada, that used to be high up in the government and revealed all the stuff about aliens and UFOs and stuff. So when you say that, so I won't forget.
So it's on the same sort of
Kentucky Goblins.
Kentucky Goblins, yeah.
Ooh,
the Kentucky Goblins.
Okay,
and so Dana and Dana and Greg Newkirk work with John E.L. Tenney quite a bit. And
you know what? Now I wonder if I have seen him.
I'm sure that you have, and just are not putting the two and two together. But I just really enjoy how his brain works.
Okay.
And they called him during one of their experiences through Hellier, which is like a docuseries. And he said, they were talking about, they were getting evidence, and then they just kept getting more evidence that led to more questions, and they weren't getting answers, but they were getting these snippets that kept them going on this experience. And
Wow.
Johnny Alatenny was saying, like, yeah, that's what happens. You can get down that rabbit hole. And he said, and that we can all have the different experiences, right? I could go into a space and say that I've cleared it. You could go
Right.
in the next day and be feeling things.
Absolutely.
And that made me cry because I felt like I was seen and heard and had been validated, because that not nice love and lighty community that this
Yep.
world can be.
Yep.
I've always said that, like, people ask me, do you do house clearings? And I'm like,
That's kind of how I feel. Like
I can help you move some energy, but I'm not going to say for sure that I can clear, because there's so many things that we don't know. We can't know it.
This. Yes,
We just don't know, and we aren't going to know all those answers. And again, we all work at different
the reasons why they're there in the first place. Because a lot of
there's
people
just so much more to it
without realizing.
I agree. I just agree. So to have somebody that is much more recognized than I am say something that I have always felt, but have been criticized for saying, felt really good to me. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll fangirl.
I could see why. See, now we both have really, I think, good reasons for why we fangirl, right? Because like you said, he validated something you've been trying to say for a long time. Plus it sounds like he's very knowledgeable. And like I said, I like it because I know what we went through years ago trying to find help, and I couldn't find help come hell or high water. I couldn't. And so somebody that goes around on their own dime to go help other people, like, I get it, they're on a TV show now, but they did start that the three of them would go around on their own dime to go and help. That's huge.
It is huge. And I think, like, we don't have to. There's lots that you probably do that you don't talk about out loud, because it doesn't need to be talked about out loud. It's the same for me. Like, I don't
Oh, what? Okay, I'm not sure what he said, but I had to highlight that. Joseph, do you know Joseph? He said, I think he said, love to hear about UFOs. I think that's what he was trying to say. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. I think that's what he said. Oh, and Howie. Yeah, Howie's adding. We're going to talk about that experience on a different show. We want, because we do things so similar here. We want to talk about this kind of stuff, right? We thought this would be fun, and you guys are asking great questions. But he is right. Like Howie said, 10 years you had to jump through. Yes, it was a long time. Yeah, and no,
and I think
right, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I think that people need to be more transparent too about exactly where their gifts are and where they're not. I don't have the knowledge to help you with this, but I can certainly help you try to find the person that
agree. And I say this all the time. Like, you got a leak in your pipes, right? Could you go watch a YouTube and maybe do a quick DIY on it? Probably. Are they going to be fixed properly? No. But especially if you have the money and you're able to find somebody, you're going to ask a plumber to come and fix it, because he does it every single day. It's going to be fixed correctly. It's the same thing in the paranormal world. We're not all good at everything.
No. And that, again, that comes back around to who you choose to do a reading. If you're wanting to do a reading, you can get referrals, but is that referral matching what your intention is?
Agreed.
And again, educating people on how to, in order to be able to get the best out of what it is that they're needing from that, right?
You could see why people...
I sound so crotchety, but I'm not.
No, you don't. But you could see why people ask for referrals, right? But then I think what you just said, I think they have to ask themselves, why are you feeling like you need a reading?
Yeah,
right?
What's the intention?
Because lots of times I find people hear somebody say to them, well, you might want to go visit a medium about that, or you might want to go see a psychic, or whatever, however it's labeled to them. But what I'm finding with a lot of people is they're not trusting their own inner guidance, wisdom, and voice. Because I just had this conversation with my partner today. He was telling me he had 4 weird dreams. And I said, one of them I could particularly possibly see why, what happened. His dad had actually visited in the dream. But I said, other than that, I said, I don't think anybody knows what our dreams mean more to us than ourselves. Same thing with crystals, right? Somebody may have channeled it or had experiences with a crystal, and they've written a book to tell you what crystals mean. But I often tell people, you know what? You go with your heart and what your eyes see and what you feel, and even maybe what you hear. Because believe it or not, crystal, I ask a crystal before I bring it home.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Not out loud. Of course, I want to be at a store going, hi, would you like to come home with me? I don't do that.
Yeah. I am. Yeah, I agree. I agree with all of that. And people ask me like what spiritual books, and I'm like, I don't read spiritual books. I really haven't.
One person's opinion. Like if I want to learn something concrete, maybe.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Yeah.
And I think too, not that I'm not saying that they're bad, because they're not. And I am an avid reader, and I will seek out a book if I don't have that knowledge, for sure. I just know as well that we can download and receive information if we're in that space as well too. So if we have that ability, sometimes the information is already outdated by the time it's come into print.
The spirit will hold classes with you. I know I say spirit, but once you connect with the other side, and I often find too with people I work with that they don't realize they've been connecting with their guides and their higher self, and you really have, and you don't realize. And then when you make that connection, it's kind of like, holy cow, I've been doing this for a long time and I didn't realize, right? So
do you do remote viewing? Does remote viewing happen for you?
Okay, so I've taken a remote viewing course, but I am now, how do I put this? I've taken a remote viewing course because I wanted to use my skills to be able to help find missing children and, missing cold cases. I'm actually a true crime fan as well. I know I'm not a fan of crime, but it just fascinates me and is abhorrent to me how somebody could be so evil. And I try and understand it. Like, is there some way to recognize people? Maybe stop this, whatever, right? With remote viewing. So I did take a course.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. Remind me that I have a story. I'm really sorry to interrupt. I had a squirrel on Red Bull moment. I'm so sorry. Keep going.
It's okay. I'm like that too. That's what happens with our brains, right? It goes all over.
Yeah.
So with remote viewing, I work with three really beautiful ladies, and I was asked to be a part of it, and we actually connect with the other side, and they give us, without saying too much, information about sort of what's going on in the world and how to see it from a different perspective and whatever. I can now tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am remote viewing. Don't realize, like, I'm not purposefully remote viewing. I'll just be like going through them all, and all of a sudden it's like so yes, I can, but not at will, not perfectly, like I think you're going to share. So go ahead and share.
No, that, well, I mean, there's just, I think there's a little bit of us that turns into like a secret voyeur when we're doing that remote viewing as well too. Like, because remote viewing happens almost all the time with sessions for me, and to me it's one of those things that I get people in spirit to show me if they're hanging out with their loved one. Where are they hanging out, right? So they'll move me through a whole house or property or land, and I've definitely had spirits show me, that their bodies haven't been found, and where
I'm trying to get rid of this here,
where they are. But there's like a voyeur kind of aspect to it when you're doing remote viewing, for sure.
Have you ever had a spirit notice that you were there? And yes, Howie, I have worked with Chuck. Yes, I have worked with Chuck, Dr. Chuck Kennedy.
So I don't know. Could we see, spirits will show up in the bathroom. People ask that question too. Do spirits show up in the bathroom?
Oh, yeah.
And for sure they do, because they're not seeing it that way. But I don't know if you're somebody that's remote viewing, and, I tell people that I don't peek in when it's an inappropriate moment. Like when I'm working, and I don't hang out like a lurker after. I am single, but not that single. No. No need
for that. Yeah.
But so then, okay, do you find, are you taking those courses because do you feel like you need to have a piece of paper that's validating what's happening
years ago. This
naturally?
was years ago.
Okay.
Okay,
Because
so like
as
I
you
said,
open up, more is just going to continue to open up.
no, I don't. The only course I'm taking because I want to and I love to learn, and I'm in my own way, and am able
Yeah.
to do some of this. I want to be able to communicate openly and freely with animals. And if Sandra's still here, she's
Oh,
going to type communicating with animals is easy. Yeah, it's easy if you want to do it. And I know I can do it, but
yeah.
I want to be able, okay, this is where this starts. My cat is peeing on my son's bed. Okay. I know why she's doing it, but I want to have a
Oh,
communication. I want to be able to have a communication with her where I can say to her, how can we best serve you so that you don't have to continue this behavior, but we can still meet your needs, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So I have the
yep.
gist of
Yep.
it. And I know animals don't communicate verbally like we do. So with the remote viewing, that was years ago when I did it. So, and you were saying your guides work with you to tell you, like, I'm not that good with it. I shouldn't say that. I've never tried it. I've never tried it.
Right.
So,
I don't know when I'm doing those live events, I always tell people it's like the creepiest part of what I'm doing. Like it's when information starts flowing through. I said it's like the creepiest but the best part. And it's always in the bedroom. And I'm like, so if I was laying in your bed, is your head, do you sleep on like the middle right? And is this where the door is? And this is where this is? And like, I promise I'm not going to hang out with you later. Like it's
well,
just
spirit has no interest, but it's a question. Like I
no.
said, that's why I'm so glad we're talking about this, because these are things people wonder. But who
Yeah.
can
Do they
ask?
watch? Do they watch when we're having sex? Do they
They don't
have
care.
sex on the other side? Like
I think they do. I think they do in
really?
a
Do you think so?
sensual way. I think that in a sensual, soulful way, yeah, I think they do, but they don't have bodies like we
They
do. But
feel
why not?
love, right? And
Like
bliss.
even like an energy exchange is the way I might refer to a sexual relation, if you will. I don't know, and I could be wrong. I always say we don't know all the
No,
answers, so we go back.
No, I think it's fascinating because I just always felt like they're always in that, if they've done that healing and they've moved through that life review and they are in that good space, that they feel they're in that place of unconditional love. So I never saw, I don't
Nothing
know.
wrong with unconditional love. I don't know, but I think that we could have any kind of pleasure that we want. No, they don't have a body. I don't
Right.
know, but to me,
No, I think it's a good conversation. I just
I
hadn't,
do too.
I didn't have an opinion either way. I've never seen it. Not that,
I've never seen it. I can tell you, I've never
that
seen
sounds
it.
right. But then it sounds like we're watching ghosty porn. So no.
Oh, the ideas we've got for apps and TV. Can you imagine how creepy would that be, saying you're playing ghost porn and all they look at is a staticky gray screen?
The EVPs would be great.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I think that's the best. I think that's the best.
It's not how I meant for that to come out.
I don't know, because let's face it this way. Now, I know it's not
I've
the
not
same as
seen it.
comparing apples to oranges, but if we
Yeah.
have, I don't even know. You can even ask me, because I don't even, well, it's a whole different show with demons. But what I'm saying is something negative. We just mentioned incubi and succubi.
Yeah.
That's how they achieve their energy. Now, we're not comparing spirits over across the veil, because like you said, it's
Yeah.
unconditional love. They're healed, what have you.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's hard to say, because even aliens, like I've had people ask me questions about that. And then I've had people share
Really?
with me in a reading, they've had the most mind-blowing physical relationship or encounter, I will say, with an alien too. So we start going down this path.
I want to go down that rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know
But
that?
I guess I don't know why I should be acting shocked about that, because
Okay,
we're
this
having
woman who
changes,
had a
like
reading.
if they're showing up.
Okay, this woman that had a reading with me, she had mentioned she had a near-death experience, and I think she was telepathic and she didn't realize it. So while we were
Right.
doing the reading, I could literally see everything she was telling me. And like when she mentioned, she was calling it, what did she call it? Her visions. And I said, honey, that's not a vision that you're having. Because she explained how it was. She wasn't having a vision. Like, I don't know if she had been physically abducted or if this was happening during sleep time or what. But she
Right.
was aboard a ship and she was describing three beings. And the one
Right.
that she described to me, I could perfectly see blue skin, the uniform, the whole bit. And so I'm searching through the internet looking for pictures afterwards. And I send her a picture. She goes, that's exactly what it was. And I knew it was because she sent me the picture. And then she said I was laying on a table and my legs were spread apart. And before she told me, I already knew it was going to happen. And she told me it was the most mind-blowing experience she had ever had. And then we talked about feelings because she was married, so she felt very guilty. But before she even told me, I already knew that she had a baby, a little girl. And this happened over, like, I guess there's no time on that. I don't know how they do it, but yeah, she didn't have that baby here physically on Earth. And I believe her.
Right.
I don't think she was lying about anything. She was trying to figure this all out herself. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Okay.
I don't know.
So I'm sorry to bring it back to me. I'm really not a narcissist, but like,
Bring it back to you.
alien boyfriends, ghost boyfriends. I mean, I don't know.
We got a question here. We got all kinds of questions here.
What am I doing wrong?
What are you doing wrong?
Yeah. I don't know.
I have often said
I don't think I want an alien boyfriend though.
I have often said that
I wouldn't want it.
when and if I'm single again, I should say when, I have no desire to have another one.
Oh no, I've said a spouse in another house forever. Like, that's gonna be a given. I think it's gonna be a really special somebody for me to ask my dogs to move over in my bed.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of where we're at
Yeah.
right now.
No, I have no desire. None.
I don't, and I think
You're not
too-
doing anything wrong. You're doing
Oh no,
everything
I know
right.
I'm not. I'm just being silly.
You really want one of them
I
to
think-
come visit you in the nighttime? They could, I guess.
I'm not even going to put that out there because I
Yeah,
know.
don't put it out there.
No. I think though it's this job and this world would be very hard for somebody to step into. Like, you know, I've certainly, not that I haven't dated, but definitely it's a lot. And you know, if I'm
is.
talking about my day, not necessarily having to share all the specifics to it, but
I hear you.
you know, sharing is it's
I still
they don't
share.
know how to be
Support
in this
you.
world. Yeah.
It's true because my partner is probably about 10, 12 years behind me. So things that he's now discovering, I knew a long time ago. And he's never disrespectful, but he's not particularly interested, nor is he supportive because he tries to bring logic into it all the time. And he's a skeptic. So logic and skepticism, I think, has a place in this field. But
Open-minded.
Yeah, open-mindedness, but sometimes logic just doesn't make sense. It happened. If you hadn't been there, you wouldn't have believed it either, but it did happen. You did experience it, and it's kind of.
And do you find there's a misconception too about what your daily life is like?
Oh yeah. Like I
Because
started,
we're regular people.
we are. And like, remember when I started the show and I said people tend to think that I like have no problems, or probably you as well. And they see your personality and are always here. Oh, you're always so positive. And I do try to stay positive, but I'm not perfect. And like I said, I don't have unicorns grazing in my front yard and piles of rainbow poop and not a problem in the world. We have the same issues and problems.
Yeah.
It's just people don't see it. And because I think go ahead. Sorry.
Do you feel people have a misconception about the amount of spirit interaction that you're having too? You know, like that it's a constant 24/7 thing.
Like one of the things that does drive me crazy, I just thought of it, is when I see people, and I realize some people really do have this issue, but when you see things on TV about this world, and reality TV ain't reality TV for anybody that doesn't know that, I'm sure people do, but when you see certain people that do the work that we do, that they can't even go out for dinner because spirit is everywhere and spirit is making them do this and do that and do this and do that. And I understand some people do have those issues. I do. But I also think we have a right, if we are working with spirit that is here, because I always say if it's something on the positive side, it's not going to come in to scare you. It's not going to come in to tell you what to do or anything like that, right? They're coming from a place of total love. So to me, we have the right as human beings to say to spirit, like you said, you don't allow them in your bedroom, or to say, whenever I light this candle, that means I'm open for business. When the candle's not on, sorry, you're going to have to come back tomorrow, or a ring or a bracelet, whatever that is, to signal to spirit that even though there is no time and space on the other side, I'm still human. I still need to eat. I still need to do these things. So you see what I'm saying? So people do believe that from what they see on TV a lot of times too.
Because I get asked that all the time. Do you go up to people in a restaurant?
Yeah, I know.
No.
That's just it. Like, do you? Or one time, one person said to me, I heard spirit say, one of my partner's friends does an annual Christmas tree burning party in May. Everybody saves their Christmas trees. If they
Oh,
get
that's fun.
It is fun. But as I'm leaving, I hear spirit say, you may want to grab a deck of your cards. And I don't need cards to do readings either. But when you're doing quick, fast readings, sometimes it's nice to pull a card and it goes along with what you picked up with from spirit when you give the message first and then pull
And
a card.
sometimes people need a visual.
Thank you. Yes. So what happened was, and I'm arguing as anybody that is clairaudient or can hear a spirit in my head going,
Yeah.
I'm not bringing an effing deck of cards to a party. You may really want to bring that deck. And I have what I call very lovingly a naggy spirit guide to just keep kind of lovingly repeating things. So it's fine. I guess, okay. I was so glad I brought it because I met this girl there. Her mom had passed away about 4 months earlier and she was having such a hard time. So we ended up going inside because everybody was outside, and all of his friends and their spouses know what I do. They don't really believe in it, but they don't bring it up, kind of thing, right? So when I'm inside, the wife says to me, I said, I hope you're okay. Like, we're just here in the kitchen. And I think she said something to the effect of, sure, yeah, fine. Just don't leave any ghosties or anything behind. Okay, fine. But what happened was, afterwards, there's a picture of me and this woman and my partner. And she had mentioned in the reading that her mom's favorite color was fuchsia pink. And over her heart chakra, there's a beautiful chakra pink.
Right.
Fuchsia pink, can't even talk, fuchsia pink, almost like a circle, energy circle. So I don't know. I guess it just depends, right? Like what people perceive or what they think it is.
I think that people have said that to me too about not.
I saw
not
your
leaving.
eyes and I felt like doing that. Believe me, I did.
Yeah. Don't leave the ghosties behind. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to.
Yeah, you almost want to, right?
Because then we'll have a real conversation, you and I, after.
Yeah.
Like, not that. That's bad. I don't know.
Well,
but
what
they
are you gonna
do.
do? They don't believe in it. And I will never, ever try and convince somebody that, like somebody had asked, you mean you aliens and UFOs are real? They're here. I'm never going to convince you of any of it. You got to find this out for yourself.
And I think then you're moving into an ego space as well too, right? Then you're needing people to believe in you, and we don't, because we're being of service, and we're being of service in that moment. We kind of step out of the way, and it's coming through to the client from spirit, and then when we're done, it's like our time. We get to be back in our space again, right? So
I call myself the mailman. Or a male person.
Oh, that's funny.
Like when I'm doing healing work or something, and somebody will go and say, oh my God, like I feel so much better after that. And I always tell people it wasn't me. I'm just the male person. That's all I am.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But sometimes they don't like the delivery. Sometimes they don't like hearing what they're getting. And that's really great to fall back into. It's not me, I'm just sharing.
It's true though. It's true.
Oh yeah. So are you comfortable if I share a story?
Absolutely. Go ahead. Okay.
It's actually really good. But
I'm having so much fun. I told you we're going to have fun. And it sounds like everybody's having fun listening too. So thanks everybody for listening to your comments.
In that moment, it was super frustrating. Anyway, I had a client come, and her mom was sharing information, and I have a structure. I have a very clear structure when I'm doing sessions. I want them to show me how they died, show me how they're connected, rows of children, siblings, what's happened, words of advice, if they're hanging out with them, where they're hanging out, and if they're giving them signs and symbols. I like the structure. Unfolds like a story, and you get there fast. And this person came with very rigid thoughts on how she wanted the information to come. So I'm sharing, and even though it was accurate, she's like, why is she showing you this? Why is she showing you this? Why is she showing you this? And then I was just getting frustrated because she wasn't really letting it unfold. She wasn't letting it go where it was needing to go. And anyway, the mom was showing things like, I have head trauma and I'm at a bend in this road and it feels like a car accident and I'm seeing Mennonite people and I'm seeing the Mennonite cart and all of this stuff. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she got so frustrated. And I'm like, okay, we're going to end this. I'm giving you your money back. And I'm frustrated and it's not going to work if I'm frustrated because I'm holding my breath and I'm getting angry and you're getting upset. And a week later, she got into a car accident at the bend of the road. Mennonites were there to save her and make sure that she was okay. And she had a year of
head trauma.
Thank you. Head trauma, a year of head trauma. And after that, she was like, but one of my biggest supporters, right? So, you know, and I'm grateful to her that she was so good about, you know, just after that, acknowledging that you really do have to get out of your own way. We have to get out of our own way and to allow the messages to come through.
True.
And the client has to let go of their expectations and allow it to unfold. And it's not always going to make sense in the moment.
I had a reading with somebody and they had booked it on their spouse's birthday that had passed away. And I kind of had an experience like that. And that's when I love to talk to people who have been doing a lot longer. And one of my friends gave me some great advice, but they had left feedback because I encourage people, if you feel like you've had a good reading or whatever, and if you haven't, let's discuss it. And, you know, how can we fix things kind of thing. I haven't had that, but what they wrote, and there was no maliciousness, and I did give them some stuff. Like I told them about a necklace and I told them about a lot of concrete stuff.
Right.
But what they wrote in there, and it wasn't malicious, but somebody reading it could perceive it that way, was if you're looking for a reading for someone to tell you where so-and-so's lost ring is from blah, 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 Lorilei is not your medium. But I don't think that this person understood what it was about. I did, and their spouse did. This was about healing, like healing the heart and emotions and speaking about emotions and releasing emotions and tears that they had been hanging on to and not been able to let go of. But they were so hung up on, like they wanted sort of almost like what you were saying, like, right? They're getting stuff and they're going, well, I don't know about that. Well, no. But they didn't see the bigger picture, right?
Yeah, I didn't handle that. I mean, in that moment, I know that I didn't handle it very well. And it took me a while to get over that for myself as well too, because I certainly went up into ego and I'm like, I don't know why she's showing me this shite. This is your mom, not mine. Like, this is your mom showing me this.
Spirit
I don't know why she's showing me this.
They show us stuff, and that was the biggest shock for me. Like I said, mediumship was one of my newer gifts versus I'm super clairaudient. Like I can hear spirit all day long, talk to them all day long. I'm not talking to them outside, but that's sometimes when I'm talking and I lose my train of thought because I'm listening to them and having a conversation within the mind.
It's very different. It's like outside ear and inside ear. Inside eye and outside eye. It's very
yeah, but I speak French and some Spanish and I speak English. So for me, with mediumship, and it can happen in a whole reading, and I don't know about you, but sometimes they'll use symbols that I understand. Sometimes they'll use colors. Sometimes it's a smell. Sometimes it's a sound. Sometimes they'll come through like full bodied, like you can see them right in front. It just depends, right? Everybody's different.
Yeah. But people ask that question, what if they don't speak English?
I've seen a couple different things about that, because I do watch paranormal shows too, a few that I enjoy. And that came up too. And one investigator happened to say, well, we're not going to understand a word they say because he didn't speak English. But the thing is, I have not seen that. Like when spirits say you're in some place that was typically all German, it's almost like they come through in English for you. Say if they're using,
because your guides help.
Yeah, I think that's what it is too. Yeah, because I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I've had people that don't speak English come through in spirit, and it all comes through in English.
Yeah, that's what my experience has been. Like I say, I used to speak French and Spanish like English, but I don't really have anybody to practice it with. So
Oh,
I can read and
to
write it,
maintain
both
it.
of them, but I'll get them mixed up because they're so close sometimes. Same as I never been taught Italian or Portuguese, but they all come from the same root language. So you can usually kind of get the gist of it, especially if it's written.
Right.
So I've never had somebody come through either in French or I think our gut, like I said, I think when it's a loving spirit or spirit, that they're here to support us in the best way possible, not to scare us or
Yeah.
anything like that. So they're going to do whatever they can to be able to facilitate, I think, communication.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
They're in whatever way they're going to come through.
Yeah.
I was doing a Dining with a Dead event, and when the guys come, I tend to ask them if they were voluntold or if they volunteered.
I love it.
Because a lot of times, like, spouses will or partners will drag them along for the ride, and then they come after, right? Because
Yeah.
That can be highly entertaining.
Mhm.
Much more saltier in person when we're not on here, but definitely.
Apparently we have some questions. I don't know if we got time for this. I'm sorry we got
I don't
Yes,
know what the
Tanya.
question is, but we're not doing readings. So if your question is,
Oh, yeah, if that's what you're asking. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't see your questions anyways, Tanya. I'm sorry. I'm rolling through here.
language.
Yeah. So something about language, she said. I'm not sure who you are you coming in with, were you on YouTube maybe? And then you switched to Facebook? We're almost, I don't know how long we're going with our show. How long
Oh,
are
we have like
I
maybe 5
figured.
minutes. Yeah, we have maybe 5 minutes. And I still had like a whole other page of questions.
I told you we weren't
I
going to
know.
get through this. You guys, I'm going to have Carrie on my show.
One of the questions I wrote down is, do you think animals that die in zoos haunt the zoo locations? Our pets stay with us.
I know, absolutely. And I'm just asking Spirit, what they're showing me is if they were born in captivity and that was their home, absolutely. And they've got good feelings, why not? That's where they'd go. But if they were, say, taken from being used to being in the wild, I got the vision of they'd return to the wild, like where they loved to be, where they felt most joy.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know our pets are always with us. That's a
I
whole
know.
different story. We could
Oh,
talk.
yeah.
Wait, those questions.
But I wondered, like, if the pets, I guess if the zoo animals were born there, if they're accustomed to the attention and the people and
yeah, and they've got good feelings about that. Because I just asked Spirit when
and
you
the
said
zookeepers too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I had thought of all kinds of questions for us just to chat silly. It's not silly, I suppose, but things that you wonder you don't necessarily have the conversation.
Been asking.
I know.
So,
Fun stuff.
Why not?
Thank you for playing along.
I had so much fun. I knew I was going to have so much fun.
It went by fast. It went by fast. We'll have to do a round 2 so we can get to all the other questions that I had.
Love to. And like I said, I'm going to have you on the Angel Rock because I don't do guests on what's the name of my other show? Thing at the end of the day.
And when is that show? Just remind everybody, because there are some people here that are new to you. So if you can remind them when your shows are.
Okay, so I have the Angel Rock on Monday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. here, Eastern Standard Time, and it's live. I usually have guests on there. Sometimes I do a show by myself, and we have so much fun because that's viewer's choice. We talk about what you guys want to talk about. I answer your questions. We have a ball together. Some of my peeps here, I see that usually come to my shows, like Howie and Sandra, and hopefully I didn't miss anybody else, but Zach was here. Those are a few of my regulars, so thank you for being here. Thank you for having me, but I will remind you too. Sorry, as I'm rambling.
Okay.
On this Monday, I have a returning guest that you all love. Carmen Turner Shot Turner. This lady is pumping out books like, I don't know, nobody's business. She was just on a couple of months ago and she's got a new one. She was just on Coast to Coast AM. This one's called Phoenixes and Angels. And this lady, every time I have her on, people adore her. So she'll be on this Monday. And then the thing at the foot of the bed with David Hansel, we talk about all the strange and the spooky, and you get to answer questions, kind of like what we were doing here. That's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays.
That's fabulous. So next week on Spirit Switchboard, I have Deb Kuhlbeck coming on. She is a medical intuitive and an energy healer. So I'm excited about having Deb on too, because she has the same sort of vibe as us, that fun energy and
I love it.
Being of service, right? Being of service.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to chat with her about doing medical intuitive work as well. So thank you everybody that joined us in the chat. It was a really great conversation today. So I appreciate all of you, and a big shout out to the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Network 105.3 and 107.7. Thank you so much everybody for hanging out.
Thanks for having me. I loved it. We're going to do it again soon.
Love
it.
Have
a good weekend.
Take care.
Take care.
Hey there.
Oh, that's not the one I
It's
want to
time
do.
for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast, in 3 categories: education, storyteller drama, and art. For 4 years, the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast has provided advice and tips from international best-selling authors, world-class artists, contest judges and winners, and industry professionals, based on the world-famous Writers of the Future contest created in 1983 by L. Ron Hubbard to help the aspiring writer and artist, no matter their age. It is dedicated to the future of storytelling and art by showing that it is never too late to start, and those who make it are those who never give up. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast in any or all of the 3 categories: education, storyteller drama, and art. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and go out and vote now.
Hey there. It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. The News on the Flip Side, in the category of politics and news. News on the Flip Side is a much different news and political program which is not deemed as opinion news. Listen as Joe Montaldo brings to you just the facts from trusted sources, which will allow you, the people, to make up your own minds on the various stories being reported on. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate News on the Flip Side in the category of politics and news. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and do it now.
Looking for something new in sci-fi or fantasy? Check out what Brandon Sanderson, Orson Scott Card, Nnedi Okorafor, and others chose as the best news stories of the year in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future Anthology. From 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
You are listening to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, coming to you live on 105.3 right up to 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. UPRNtalkradio.com.
You've been listening to Spirit Switchboard with host Kerrilynn Shelhorn on the United Public Radio Network 105.3 New Orleans.